Every year, as autumn leaves begin to fall and the air turns crisp, a familiar excitement stirs. Streets transform, adorned with grinning jack-o'-lanterns and spectral figures. Children, disguised as superheroes and monsters, eagerly anticipate a night of trick-or-treating. But have you ever paused amidst the candy wrappers and spooky decorations to wonder where it all began? How did this global phenomenon of costumes, candy, and frights come to be? The story of Halloween is far more ancient and complex than you might imagine, a tale woven through centuries of tradition, belief, and migration. It's a journey that takes us from the misty hills of ancient Ireland to the bustling streets of modern-day America, revealing how a sacred Celtic festival evolved into the spookfest we know and love today. So, grab your pumpkin spice latte, get cozy, and let us peel back the layers of time to uncover the surprising and sometimes dark origins of All Hallows' Eve. Our journey begins over 2,000 years ago with the ancient Celts who inhabited the lands we now know as Ireland, the United Kingdom, and northern France. For them, the year was divided into two halves, the light half and the dark half. The transition between these seasons was marked by a festival called Samhain, pronounced Suin. Samhain was celebrated on the night of October 31st, signaling the end of the harvest and the beginning of the long, dark winter, a time often associated with hardship and mortality. The Celts believed that on this specific night, the veil between the world of the living and the world of the spirits became exceptionally thin. This wasn't just a casual belief, it was a fundamental part of their understanding of the cosmos. They believed that the ghosts of the dead, along with other fairies and otherworldly beings, could return to roam the earth. This made Samhain a powerful supernatural time, filled with both reverence and apprehension. It was a night when the ordinary rules of reality were suspended, and anything could happen. To navigate this spiritual crossroad, the Celtic priests, known as Druids, would build enormous, sacred bonfires. The community would gather, offering crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celtic deities, seeking their protection through the coming winter. These fires were not just for sacrifice, they were also a source of light and warmth against the encroaching darkness. People would extinguish their home hearths and relight them from the communal bonfire, a symbolic act that bound the community together and sought divine protection. Villagers also wore costumes, typically consisting of animal heads and skins. The purpose of these disguises was twofold: to ward off mischievous spirits by blending in with them, and perhaps to represent the spirits of their ancestors. So, the next time you see a group of kids in spooky costumes, remember this ancient tradition of disguise, born from a desire to navigate a world where the living and the dead walk side by side for one night. Another practice you might recognize is mumming or guising. During Samhain, people, especially young men, would go from door to door in costume, reciting verses or performing short plays in exchange for food and drink. This wasn't a demand for candy, but a communal exchange. Think of it as an early form of trick-or-treating, where the trick was a performance and the treat was a contribution to the festive meal. This tradition was a way for the community to share its resources and celebrate together before the lean months of winter. These early forms of celebration laid the foundational stones for what would eventually become modern Halloween. But the journey from an ancient Celtic festival to a global holiday required a powerful catalyst: the expansion of the Roman Empire. By 43 AD, the Roman Empire had conquered most of the Celtic territory. As the Romans ruled for over 400 years, their own festivals began to merge with the local Celtic traditions. Two Roman festivals, in particular, left their mark on Samhain. The first was Feralia, a day in late October when the Romans commemorated the passing of the dead. The second was a festival to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol of Pomona is the apple, and the incorporation of this celebration into the late October festivities likely explains the origin of the tradition of bobbing for apples, a game that is still a staple at many Halloween parties today. This cultural fusion was a key step in the evolution of the holiday, blending Celtic spiritual beliefs with Roman commemorative and harvest traditions. The core idea of honoring the dead and celebrating the end of the harvest remained, but it was now dressed in new, Roman-influenced customs. The next major transformation came with the spread of Christianity. In the 7th century, Pope Boniface IV designated May 13th as All Saints' Day, a time to honor all saints and martyrs. A century later, Pope Gregory III moved the observance to November 1st, possibly as a deliberate attempt to co-opt and Christianize the pagan festival of Samhain. The evening before All Saints' Day, October 31st, became known as All Hallows' Eve, Hallow being an Old English word for saint. Over time, All Hallows' Eve was shortened to the name we use today, Halloween. The Church also established All Souls' Day on November 2nd to honor all the dead, not just the saints. Together, these 3 days, All Hallows' Eve, All Saints' Day, and All Souls' Day, became known as Hallowtide. While the Church aimed to replace pagan rituals, many of the old customs simply adapted. The bonfires, costumes, and parades continued, now framed within a Christian context. People would dress as saints, angels, and devils, and the practice of souling emerged, where the poor would go door to door receiving soul cakes in exchange for prayers for the souls of the homeowner's deceased relatives. This is yet another clear ancestor of modern trick. Now, let's cross the Atlantic. The strict Protestant beliefs of the early colonial settlers in New England meant that Halloween was not widely celebrated in early America. However, in the more diverse southern colonies, particularly in Maryland and the southern states, various European ethnic groups brought their own versions of the holiday. They held play parties, public events to celebrate the harvest where neighbors would share stories of the dead, tell each other's fortunes, dance and sing. Ghost stories became a popular form of entertainment, adding to the spooky atmosphere of the season. But the event that truly catapulted Halloween into the American mainstream was the great wave of Irish immigration in the mid-19th century. Fleeing the potato famine, millions of Irish immigrants brought their rich and vibrant Halloween traditions with them. They popularized the practice of dressing in costume and going house to house asking for food or money, a practice that evolved into today's trick-or-treating. They also brought the tradition of the jack-o'-lantern. This custom originated from an Irish myth about a man nicknamed Stingy Jack. According to the story, Jack tricked the devil for his own monetary gain. When Jack died, God wouldn't allow him into heaven, and the devil wouldn't let him into hell. Instead, Jack was sentenced to roam the earth for eternity, with only a burning coal inside a carved-out turnip to light his way. The Irish began to carve their own demonic faces into turnips, potatoes, and beets, placing them in windows or by doors to frighten away Stingy Jack and other wandering evil spirits. When the immigrants arrived in America, they discovered that the native pumpkin, being larger and easier to carve, was the perfect medium for their jack-o'-lanterns, and thus, an iconic symbol of Halloween was born from an Irish folktale and an American crop. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, America was changing. There was a move to mold Halloween into a holiday that was more about community and neighborly get-togethers than about ghosts, pranks, and witchcraft. Community leaders and newspapers encouraged parents to take anything frightening or grotesque out of Halloween celebrations. At the turn of the century, Halloween parties for both children and adults became the most common way to celebrate. These parties focused on games, seasonal foods, and festive costumes. This push toward a more secular, community-centered holiday marked a significant shift. By the 1920s and 1930s, town-wide Halloween parades and parties were commonplace. The holiday was losing its superstitious and religious overtones and becoming a more civic celebration. The practice of trick-or-treating, as we know it, was revived in the 1930s as a way to control the vandalism that had become a problem on Halloween night. The idea was to provide an organized, community-sanctioned activity for children. By offering small treats to neighborhood kids, homeowners could prevent them from playing pranks. The practice was temporarily halted during World War II due to sugar rationing, but after the war, it experienced a massive resurgence. Fueled by the baby boom, trick-or-treating became a rite of passage for millions of children across the country. By the 1950s, Halloween was firmly established as a major commercially driven holiday. Candy companies in particular capitalized on the tradition, marketing small, individually wrapped candies perfect for handing out. Halloween had become a true American institution. Today, Halloween is a global powerhouse. It's the second largest commercial holiday in the United States after Christmas, with Americans spending billions of dollars each year on costumes, decorations, and candy. But its influence extends far beyond American borders. Through media, movies, and cultural exchange, American-style Halloween has been adopted and adapted in countries all over the world, from Mexico, where it coexists with the traditional Dia de los Muertos, to Japan, which hosts some of the world's largest and most elaborate costume parades in places like Shibuya. The holiday continues to evolve. In Europe, many countries have revived their own ancient autumn traditions, blending them with the fun and festive elements of American Halloween. The holiday has become a canvas for creativity, a night where people of all ages can embrace imagination, fantasy, and a little bit of harmless fear. So, the next time you carve a pumpkin, put on a costume, or hand out candy, take a moment to appreciate the incredible journey this holiday has taken. From a sacred Celtic rite marking the boundary between worlds, to a Christianized day of remembrance, to a community festival in colonial America, and finally, to the global commercial spectacle it is today. Halloween is a living piece of history, a tapestry woven from ancient beliefs, cultural migrations, and modern commercialism. It's a testament to our enduring fascination with the mysterious, our need for community celebration, and our love for a good, spooky story. It reminds us that even in our modern world, there's still a place for magic, mystery, and a little bit of fun in the dark. Thank you so much for joining me on this historical journey. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets of Halloween, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the stories behind our world. Happy Halloween, everyone!